Chapter 14. Conclusion. And Jesus said unto him, No man, having put his hand to the plow and looking back, is fit for the kingdom of God. Luke 9:62. We have seen how mortal, immortal and resurrected beings can function with priesthood outside of the organization of the church. We have reviewed how Jesus established a church in Jerusalem with the priesthood. He then established another church existing simultaneously on the American continent, also with priesthood. Then he went to some other sheep, whom he was going to bring into the fold, which undoubtedly had a church and priesthood. This was a demonstration that at least 3 churches were operating at the same time with priesthood authority, without the supervision of any particular central church. Then after the Church of Jesus Christ was established, there was an apostasy. Why? Because the church changed Christ's doctrines, laws and ordinances to conform with the laws of man. Even though the Christian church grew in great numbers and became very prosperous, without the high priesthood they could no longer obey or perform higher priesthood ordinances. Many other churches were formed without true priesthood, because the original church had lost it. As a result, false prophets and false doctrines increased. We have discussed at least 20 priesthood laws and ordinances that must be present in the church, or else it loses its power and authority of the high priesthood. During the 1886 period, men were authorized to teach, live and perpetuate the higher principles of the Melchizedek priesthood, because church members and leaders had rejected them. A series of manifestos and compromises by the church allowed it to prosper temporally, but not advance spiritually. The reasons and conditions for the excommunications of Jesus and his disciples are similar to the conditions that exist in the latter days, i.e., not complying with the edicts of existing church leaders. Jesus and his disciples could be considered as the fundamentalists of their age. The established Church of Moses considered them apostates and excommunicated them whenever they were discovered. But Jesus rejoiced that God had revealed these doctrines to babes and had hidden them from the wise and prudent. In that hour Jesus rejoiced in spirit and said, I thank thee, O Father, Lord of heaven and earth, that thou hast hid these things from the wise and prudent, and hast revealed them unto babes. Even so, Father, for so it seemed good in thy sight. Luke 10:21. Solomon said, The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun. Is there anything whereof it may be said, See, this is new? It hath been already of old time, which was before us. Eccles 1:9-10. History just keeps repeating itself. Isn't there sufficient evidence to show that we have repeated the conditions of the primitive church, when the unjust were excommunicating the just? Haven't we also exchanged our trust in the Lord for trust in the arm of flesh? Those who bear and honor God's holy priesthood should distance themselves from those who might have a negative influence upon them. Politicians, socialites, businessmen, or religious leaders who might lead others astray can be a serious danger to the welfare or even salvation of the saints of God. Jesus warned us of these very things. Both Matthew 18:8-9 and Mark 9:42-50 record Christ's commentary about parts of the body, the hand, foot and eye, which may cause offenses, and his solution to the problem was to cut it off, cast it from thee, and pluck it out. In each case, it refers to a definite separation. These parts of the body can be compared to members of the church. Paul also used the same terminology in I Cor 12:14-22. The best translation of this analogy is recorded in Joseph Smith's inspired translation of the Bible. Therefore, if thy hand offend thee, cut it off, or if thy brother offend thee and confess not and forsake not, he shall be cut off. It is better for thee to enter into life maimed than having 2 hands to go into hell. For it is better for thee to enter into life without thy brother, than for thee and thy brother to be cast into hell, into the fire that never shall be quenched, where their worm dieth not, and the fire is not quenched. And again, if thy foot offend thee, cut it off, for he that is thy standard, by whom thou walkest, if he become a transgressor, he shall be cut off. It is better for thee to enter halt into life, than having 2 feet to be cast into hell, into the fire that never shall be quenched. Therefore, let every man stand or fall by himself, and not for another, or not trusting another. Seek unto my Father, and it shall be done in that very moment what ye shall ask, if ye ask in faith, believing that ye shall receive. And if thine eye which seeth for thee, him that is appointed to watch over thee to show thee light, become a transgressor and offend thee, pluck him out. It is better for thee to enter into the kingdom of God with 1 eye, than having 2 eyes to be cast into hell fire. For it is better that thyself should be saved, than to be cast into hell with thy brother, where their worm dieth not, and where the fire is not quenched. Mark 9:40-48. Carrying this further and more specifically, the hand could be interpreted as a brother in the church, the foot could be the bishop or stake president, and the eye may be a prophet, seer and revelator, that is to give light and see for you. There is an interesting priesthood paradox existing in Mormonism today. Some male church members have committed sins grievous enough to lose their priesthood, but yet they still have their membership. On the other hand, others who didn't deserve it have been unjustly excommunicated. Thus, many men in the church think they have priesthood, but don't, while others who have been excommunicated still hold the priesthood separate from the church. Another questionable priesthood issue is that for over 30 years, priesthood members were given an office in the church, but yet priesthood was never conferred upon them. Who knows how many thousands of male members, including LDS leaders, think they hold the priesthood, but hold only an office in the church. And those since 1957 think they have been conferring priesthood on others when, in reality, their own priesthood is in question. And furthermore, how effective are the baptisms, endowments and marriages performed by those same males? We live in a time of spiritual darkness, for all things are out of order, and God's house is no exception. The restoration of the gospel and the priesthood should have been a leaven to the world, but instead the world has been a leaven to the church. For the Lord said, "Darkness covereth the earth, and gross darkness the minds of the people, and all flesh has become corrupt before my face." D&C 112:23. Instead of following the King of Kings, we have followed the kings of the earth. At Christ's crucifixion, the Jews cried out, "We have no king, but Caesar," John 19:15, and today we seem to be saying, "We have no king, but Bush, for we honor the laws of the land more than the laws of God." How and when will all this end? The Lord has seen our day and into the future, and has promised us that eventually it will all be straightened out. There will be a day when He will come to set in order the house of God, D&C 85:7, and all these errors will be corrected. He said that, "They who are not apostles and prophets shall be known," D&C 64:38. Because an apostle and a prophet must hold the Melchizedek priesthood. The restructure of church membership and priesthood will take place from church president down to deacon. As mortals subject to sin, we need to first recognize our personal and religious mistakes, and then take every opportunity to correct them. We need to remember that we cannot look to men for salvation, but only to the Lord, no longer trusting in the arm of flesh. Occasionally, Jesus has walked and talked with man on the earth, and He has promised to do so again. He has a destiny with man to be seated on the throne in the New Jerusalem temple. He will meet with all the faithful, for He has promised, "I will drink of the fruit of the vine with you on the earth. And also, with all those whom my Father hath given me out of the world." D&C 27:5 and 14. These will be the elect who honored and obeyed the holy priesthood and its laws, whether or not they were present in the LDS Church and were not deceived. We alone make that decision for ourselves. Now the great and grand secret of the whole matter, and the summum bonum of the whole subject that is lying before us, consists in obtaining the powers of the holy priesthood. D&C 128:11.